Hey guys, it's Saru, and 2021 has ended and so much has happened, and I don't know, I did have plans to release a video at the end of the year, but that's all gone now. Regardless, we are in 2022 now, and a happy new year to all of you watching. With the new year, I wanted to make a video sharing my excitement for the top 10 games that I'm most excited for this year. Unfortunately, there are just so many more games than that I had to add at least 5 more to make it fair on me. From the brand new feel of Unreal Engine 5 to the exciting world of the MMORPG realm, and we're going to be taking a look at all of the games that I'm personally excited for this year, and maybe we'll share some common interest here. So, let's get right into it. I have to admit guys, it was a bit difficult pinpointing just 15 games that I'm really excited for, whether it's an update or a game or whatever, but for the update side of things I will wait till the very end. Now, this list is not at all in any order, they're just names in a random order that I kind of thought up of. I don't really have any particular order in which I'm excited for these type of games, but I'm just letting you guys know now. First up, Into the Echo. Into the Echo is an upcoming open-world MMORPG being developed under Unreal Engine 5 by Etlock Studios team up here in Canada. The game really doesn't have that much information on it other than the fact that it's a unique time-traveling MMORPG, whatever that means, with an interesting take on the genre. This all takes place in the planet of Rava, or Rava. I'm not really sure there. The game is still under heavy development and I suspect that we probably won't see it for a few years, but the game has been showcasing some NDA pre-alpha to registered users as of December 2021. So if you are interested, you're able to go sign up for it and maybe you'll be picked and then you can play the game, possibly. Etlock Studios states that they are strongly against any pay-to-win or pay-for-convenience business models or even progress-limiting microtransactions, so they will not be including any of those practices into the game. But for now, as for whether the game will be buy-to-play, sub-to-play, or free-to-play is unknown. The MMO is set to have PvP, PvE, and crafting systems, your average run-of-the-mill MMORPG experience, just elevated a bit more. So for me, it's just exciting to see more and more games adapt into the new cutting-edge technology of Unreal Engine 5. Speaking of which, that brings up the next game, Ashes of Creation. Ah yes, Ashes of Creation, we have a bit of history, and if you've been in the channel long enough then you know it, but back in what feels like almost half a decade ago, Intrepid Studios and the mastermind behind the game in the studio, Steven Sharif, announced an MMORPG that was going to be revolutionary. A brand new Unreal Engine 4 MMORPG with a vast open world, a hybrid combat system of action combat and tab target, with absolutely zero pay to win, all set in the fantasy world of Vera. Now keep in mind that previously there weren't really any MMORPGs in Unreal Engine 4, in fact I don't think there were any except one in development which was Bless Unleashed, but no one really knew about it. But since its initial and world-breaking Kickstarter, the game has been heavy in development with NDA alphas and only recently pre-alphas that allowed content creators to, well, create content around the game. In fact, I streamed a little here on YouTube in case anyone is interested. It's somewhere up here, I'm sure, with all of my initial reactions of the game, which basically was that it needs a lot of work before it's released. Still, it's an absolute beast of the game with amazing visuals. Who knows what's to come, but recently Intrepid Studios released a video announcing that for a while now they've actually been switching development from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. Now this is now making it the second MMORPG now pioneering the new generational way of creating MMORPGs, and well, the first with as massive as it is and the biggest team that it has. And with new generations come new ways to play MMOs, such as Zenith. I wrote about this game last June, and it's a virtual reality MMORPG inspired by games such as Sword Art Online, .hack, or Log Horizon, all to say that it's an anime and JRPG inspired VR MMORPG. Those are a lot of words, oh my goodness. Zenith is also an open world MMORPG, with action combat which allows you to go wherever you want. You can climb any surface, glide anywhere. It's a true open world experience, and not only is it exciting because of what it's offering, but the game also states to offer cross-platform between PC and consoles, between the Oculus Rift, the Quest, Steam VR, PlayStation VR, and just desktop PC in general. Now I think everyone has been dreaming about exploring open worlds in a VR MMORPG, especially when Sword Art Online came out. I think everybody was kind of just like, oh, I want to put on a helmet and just go inside a world. For me it was .hack Sign back in the 90s, I think it was. is. I have no idea anymore. Everyone's going to have their chance to do so, even if you don't have VR. The game has had various playtests, and we should be seeing even more content later this year. Dying Light 2. If ever there was a fan of Dying Light, being in the first 100 people to platinum the game, that would be me. Dying Light was a game that I dedicated months into and had a blast with, so much so that I created content just in another channel, not this one whatsoever, and then I started submitting content over to Techland, and I started using it as a marketing tool, like jumping off the bridge, going inside of the hole of the bus, and then kind of making that into a competition, and I was one of the pioneers for that, so it was really fun. It's an open world parkour game that you can play with up to 2 other friends. Basically, you're stranded in a zombie mutant infested island where you're able to kill anything you want, parkour, and be as free as you want to. You have a cool multiplayer PvP feature that allows you to be a survivor or mutant of sorts and go and kill others. But anyways, I'm gonna stop right there because I could go on and on about the game. I love the story and everything in between with it, but Dying Light 2 is set to come out this year, and I'm hoping to have that flame rekindled. But also, I'm hoping everything is elevated, if that makes any sense. The combat in the first game was amazing, sure, but I'm hoping there are brand new systems to make it even better. Same for the parkour, and hopefully even more grappling systems, which I love swinging like Spider-Man, sort of, in the first game. Hogwarts Legacy. This is a game like no other. If anyone has followed me from before Terra days, they'll know that I have played every single Harry Potter game in existence, from the good old Flipendo days of Philosopher's Stone to the Lego versions. It was something that I just had fun doing, and I've always had a soft spot for anything related to Hogwarts. When Hogwarts Legacy was announced, or rather leaked, I was mind blown, but tried to keep my expectations low. After all, lately, every time I'm hyped for a game, it just falls short, unfortunately. Lo and behold, what I thought might be an MMORPG ended up being a stellar RPG with deep customization of your own character, your own path and choices in the wizarding world of Hogwarts, set many years before the Harry Potter events. Though there was going to be a Harry Potter MMORPG at one point many years ago, but EA ended up canceling it, and I feel like I should probably just mention that. But I feel like with Hogwarts Legacy, even though it's not an MMORPG, it could certainly be the little starting point where players can maybe talk about it and chant with it, but maybe that's just me, I don't know. I'm also hoping the game will offer some sort of multiplayer system or co-op, but only time will tell. For me, I think it would really cool. This is just kind of throwing ideas out there. If there's Quidditch in the game, maybe they could do that in like a co-op type of thing. Or if there's duels with wands and stuff like that, I think that'd be really cool to kind of implement sort of a PvP system sort of like that. Not necessarily in the open world, but just like you're standing on tables and fighting, I guess. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there. Regardless, we have no idea what's in store for the game, but it seems like the team behind the game will be announcing much more later this month. Embers Adrift. This is a new MMORPG based on group-based challenges and community, with a pure sandbox environment, meaning no quest hubs, no mini-maps. You're pretty much experiencing the game yourself, and something to keep in mind is that this will be a PvE-focused game with really no PvP at all, so if you like PvP, this is not the game for you. The game is set to have a subscription-based model for the MMORPG, created by Stormhaven Studios. Players will have the choice between the classic roles of tank, DPS, support, or crowd control classes, and the cool thing about that is that if you want to try something else for your skills, you can completely delete an ability and then go into a brand new one, or do the same for your roles. A little tidbit, if you guys remember Saga of Leucemia, back in Eterna Gaming days, I did a little interview with them. This is indeed that game, but they've just rebranded it all together, which has become now Embers Adrift. It has been in development since 2015, but we'll see what this year brings, and it seems that Embers Adrift is full steam ahead. So if indie MMORPGs are your thing, this might be for you. Redfall. Now, I don't see many people talking about Redfall. Redfall is a brand new open world co-op shooter game coming to Xbox Series X and S and PC this summer. It takes place in the town of Redfall, Massachusetts, where the town is infested by vampires and they've completely blocked out the sun. Sounds a little crazy, but maybe fun. So you have your survivors that are fighting off these vampires and killing them off. Think Back 4 Blood, but with open world, and you can play the game as a single player or team up with 3 other players to have a 4-player co-op experience as you squad up to beat up vampires. Now the game does look neat, at least the CGI type of thing. We don't actually know what the game is going to fully look like, but the concept, at least it's new. We don't really see many vampire games anymore. Blood Hunt was really cool and it comes out later this year, which I'm not announcing it in this list whatsoever, but it's just really cool to see more of the vampire side of things and less of the zombie stuff, because I was getting a bit tired of seeing how many zombie games there are, which brings me to the next game. The Day Before. Now, The Day Before is an open world survival MMO set in a post-pandemic America that's completely overran by flesh-eating infected people. Not zombies, flesh-eating infected people. They're pretty much zombies, guys. You'll be able to search the open world for food, weapons, and cars, as well as be able to completely investigate every part of the world, at least in that section. Now this is a next generation game that you'll be able to play with other players and even fight off other players if need be. You can think of it as The Division meets zombies. This game is set to release this summer, and not much more information has been released for it other than a couple trailers that have been in development, and the developers themselves are brand new to the scene it seems, so not much is known at all about the publisher or the developer, but hopefully it's all good things because it does look pretty cool, and I know a lot of players have actually been looking for a next generation DayZ of sorts, so maybe this is going to be it. Forspoken. Forspoken is an upcoming game from Square Enix, which I was more surprised wasn't another Final Fantasy game, because when you think Square Enix, you think Final Fantasy. Originally called Project Athia, the game is set to release in May of this year for PC and PlayStation 5. It is a single-player action RPG that follows a young girl called Frey, who somehow gets transported to the beautiful land of Athia. So that's where Project Athia was from, you silly. But anyways, Frey finds out she has powers and starts beating up monsters to find her way home. You know, the usual story type of thing. Now, usually I wouldn't list single-player RPGs, but those who know me know that I really don't enjoy them as much anymore. I like more multiplayer type games because I find I have a bit more fun when I'm with a co-op or something. The latest game that I really enjoyed was It Takes Two. I got to play with my girlfriend for that one and it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it, so I'm used to more co-op games, but lately I've been enjoying single player stories again and have been really, I don't know, they've been captivating me, and I think that's what brought me back to enjoying single player games. Speaking of which, there's a sequel coming up. A Plague Tale Requiem. Now, I played the original, or rather the first game, A Plague Tale Innocence, previous to its release and streamed it here on YouTube from start to finish. The game was set in the 1300s in the Kingdom of France, where the plague had just started spreading with these rats and bunch of stuff, and you're basically trying to get out of it. Boring on paper, sure, but there was so much conspiracy behind it and interesting magical abilities, with Amicia being able to control the rats and, well, so much more. I truly enjoyed the game and it was really excited to see there's going to be a sequel. Well, there had to be, especially with how the first one ended. With that said, the sequel is set to release on next generation consoles as well as PC later this year. For me, it'll be great to go back, and I'll definitely be streaming it here once it's out. Ghostwire Tokyo. Now this is a game that I'm looking forward to simply because it reminds me a little bit of Indigo Prophecy, which I think was actually changed to like Fahrenheit or some other type name, I don't know. The way I knew it was Indigo Prophecy before it was remade with like HD graphics or something like that. I can't remember, but for me it was called Indigo Prophecies, that's the point. Which I had a ton of fun growing up with, even though it's a pretty dark game. But Ghostwire Tokyo is a supernatural action-adventure game coming from Bethesda, where you fight vengeful spirits with your newly discovered powers. You hunt yokai, or spirits, around the city of Tokyo and find out what happened. Now the game looks exciting to me mostly because I've always been into supernatural type of things, or just horror or action games of sorts. Like I said, this has a huge Indigo Prophecy vibe for me, even though I know for most that have played that game, if you have played that game, you probably won't see it. For me, I feel like that vibe, and I kind of want to play this game just because of it. But we'll see, I guess. But now back to multiplayer games with Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is a free-to-play action shooter game that allows you to fight mechanized monsters that are coming from space. Sounds fun? It is a third-person shooter that quite frankly looks like Battlefront 2 on drugs, which you can co-op with 3 other players, as far as I'm aware, unless it's 2 other players. You can co-op with 2 to 3 other players. Yes, I did say it does look like Battlefront 2, mainly because the game's developer team is made up of ex-Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront developers. So it looks like it'll be a fun game at least, if anything, but as it's coming later this year for PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series consoles, we'll see how much of the game will indeed be free, especially considering the studio head is the ex-president of EA. Gotham Knights. Now Gotham Knights I feel like is the answer to the Avengers game that recently got released. Like I said, that's at least what I think. Batman died, Gotham City is filled to the brim with villains, and now it's up to Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin to protect its citizens. The game is an open world action RPG that you can play by yourself or with one other player. Yay. The game looks pretty amazing from the alpha footage that was originally showed, but the fact that you can only play with one other player is pretty damning, especially in this day and age where multiplayer is so widely asked for and loved. Still, it looks like it'll be fun, but not much more than what I've said is really known other than a secret society called the Court of Owls is controlling Gotham City. But if you've played a lot of Batman games like the Arkham games, or you've even watched Gotham, to be honest, you would know about the Court of Owls. Not much of a secret, but there's a whole wanting to figure out what's going on that takes place. So if you're a fan of the DC universe, or at least the Gotham universe, maybe this will be the game for you and one other friend. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Well, naturally, I'd follow up with the Suicide Squad, which does offer more team members, 3 other for a total of 4-player co-op. But Suicide Squad is an upcoming action-adventure game that takes place in Metropolis, literally right opposite of Gotham, and the whole goal is for you to take down the Justice League as they've been mind controlled. The game will allow you to fully explore Metropolis as you wish, along with customization for your weapons and different skills to master and so on and so forth, and I don't think we've seen a game like this. It'll be interesting to see where the game takes us and what exactly they have to show. We've never really seen a game where we're kind of the villains and it's an action-adventure game. We're usually the heroes here. And you know, some can say that Suicide Squad are technically heroes, but I mean, if they didn't have the bomb in their heads, would they really be? Anyways, that's conversation for another time. The game looks pretty nice, the combat looks fluid, but with Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad essentially competing against one another because Warner Bros. Is releasing both of the games, it looks like Suicide Squad may win this one. And finally, Layers of Fear, or Layers of Fear 3. Maybe, I have no idea. What I do know is that I played the first 2, and they were, well, the first one was better. The team behind Layers of Fear are creating a brand new Unreal Engine 5 game. I'm not really sure if it's a remake of the first one or if it's a sequel to the second one, or is it a threequel? Whatever. There isn't any new title for it or anything, they just said it's something. A new project for Layers is coming. I don't know what that means. And if you're a fan of the horror games, then you'll certainly enjoy this one. After all, it is a blooper team and they make some pretty decent spooky games. And while Layers of Fear is pretty good, sometimes misses the mark, but it is what it is. Now for a special mention. I'd probably be killed by anyone that sees this if I don't mention Elden Ring. Admittedly, I'm not too hyped about it. I know, hold your gasps, but I know it's weird. But for me, I do want to play it, but I feel like after playing Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and most recently Mortal Shell, it just feels, from the trailer at least, that I'm in an endless loop of playing these games. I don't know, maybe the story will draw me in. George R.R. Martin did write this, and from what he's said publicly, he loves how it looks, but I mean, Keanu Reeves said that Cyberpunk looked great, so I don't know what to say. So maybe it is great, but I'll have to actually see it for myself. But for right now, from all the trailers and hypes, it just feels like something I've seen time and time again. But I'll definitely try it out. And lastly, for an update that I'm quite excited about is Swords of Legends Online. I know I talk about it quite a bit, but listen to me. Unsurprisingly, I'm very excited about this because the game has kept me having fun. I've been just playing non-stop. I think it's the first MMORPG in recent years. I just really haven't been bored with it, and I haven't been wanting to try any other MMOs, if that makes any sense, at least for me. With updates every 2 weeks and with endless supplies of events from what it seems, I've been having a lot of fun with it. 2.0 is set to release relatively soon, and were I to hazard a guess, I don't actually know when it's coming out, but were I to actually give you guys a guess, I think February 24th, or at least somewhere close to it, which would bring the Crystal and Spirit Warrior classes as well as the Fox Mage class, along with the brand new revamp of the systems in the game and a lot of overhauls that the game really needs. Given that in China the game didn't really last very long in 2.0 and then went into 3.0 releasing the Archer, I suspect we'll see the same thing, and we'll probably see 3.0 later this year in summer or winter with the brand new Archer class, which I'm excited for myself, and hopefully the long-awaited Unreal Engine 4 update that we've been craving for that extra optimization. All to say that I'm pretty excited this year for Swords of Legends Online. So that's my top 15 games that I'm excited for this year. Well, 17 if you count the last 2, which I guess you should. Jesus, that was a long video. Oh my goodness. What game or games are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments below and we'll talk about it. Maybe I forgot to mention one and we'll talk about it in there. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and click that adorable fucking bell to know when I upload a brand new video. And don't forget to come join my Discord if you want to chat and hang out. Much love, and as always, till next time, friends.